Anika Sharma was a bride with secrets, Vikram Malhotra a groom chasing a dream. But by sunrise on their wedding night in Canada, she was dead and he was in handcuffs, accused of uncovering a double life so shocking it shattered two families and stunned two nations. In late October 2023, the city of Brampton, Ontario, was alive with excitement. It wasn't just another wedding. It was the union of Vikram Malhotra, a successful Indian-Canadian software executive, and Anika Sharma, a rising social media influencer from New Delhi. The two had met through mutual friends online and spent nearly a year building a long-distance relationship filled with video calls, gifts, and promises. Their wedding was set to be a lavish affair, blending Indian tradition with Canadian elegance. The ceremony took place in a luxury banquet hall, decorated with golden drapes, floral arches, and shimmering lights. Over 300 guests attended, many flying in from India, dressed in their finest attire. Anika arrived at the venue in a red designer lehenga, smiling and waving as cameras followed her every move. Her Instagram was filled with pictures from the pre-wedding events. Mehndi, Sangeet, Haldi, all of it staged to perfection. Vikram, too, seemed deeply in love, introducing Anika to friends and relatives as the woman who had changed his life. Their families embraced, toasts were raised, and the night ended in fireworks. It was, by all appearances, a perfect day, but behind the smiles and celebrations, something wasn't right. Some guests noticed Vikram growing quieter as the evening went on. He barely touched his food and frequently checked his phone. Later, he was seen whispering to a cousin, face pale and expression tense. Still, no one imagined what was to come. Just hours after the reception ended, police were called to Vikram's suburban home. Anika was found dead in their bedroom, her body showing signs of a brutal beating. Blood stained the sheets. A wedding gift, a decorative trophy, lay beside her, covered in fingerprints. The dream wedding had turned into a nightmare, one no one could have seen coming. Anika Sharma's death made headlines across Canada and India. What had started as a tragic end to a wedding night quickly grew into an international scandal. As details began to surface, the public's attention shifted from the murder itself to the mystery surrounding Anika's identity. In Canada, media outlets highlighted her as a beautiful, educated woman who had seemingly married into wealth. But in India, journalists started to question the persona she had crafted online. Who was Anika Sharma, really? Her Instagram page painted a glamorous picture: luxury vacations, expensive clothes, fine dining, and daily beauty routines. She posed in five-star hotel lobbies in Dubai, sipped cocktails in Singapore, and walked the streets of Paris in high heels. Many assumed she was either independently wealthy or had a successful influencer career. But when police began examining her financial records, they discovered glaring inconsistencies. Despite the high-end lifestyle she flaunted online, Anika had no known employment history, no tax filings, and no consistent source of income. Investigators tracked several bank accounts opened under aliases with large cash deposits, often just below the reporting threshold. None of the accounts matched her declared financial background. In interviews, neighbors from her Delhi neighborhood said she lived modestly with her mother and had dropped out of college after her first year. A few recalled her disappearing for months at a time and returning with new clothes and stories about work trips. No one really knew where she went or how she earned money. The more detectives looked, the clearer it became that Anika had carefully constructed a double life. Behind the curated images and filters was someone operating in shadows, hiding not just from her new husband, but from everyone who thought they knew her. The perfect bride wasn't who she claimed to be, and the truth was far more complicated. As the investigation progressed, attention turned to Vikram Malhotra, the groom who just hours after his wedding was found sitting silently beside his new wife's lifeless body. Police were eager to understand what had driven him to violence, and the answer, it turned out, lay in a trail of growing suspicion that had been building long before the wedding. Vikram had met Anika online through a friend in India. Her charm, beauty, and confidence had instantly drawn him in. She spoke fluent English, shared his love for tech startups, and appeared to have a modern yet traditional outlook. Exactly what Vikram had been looking for. But as their relationship deepened, small inconsistencies began to emerge. She was vague about her work. Whenever he asked about her job or income, she'd deflect, saying she was working on a fashion project or in between influencer campaigns. She often avoided video calls late at night and traveled frequently with little explanation. At first, Vikram chalked it up to cultural differences and the challenges of long-distance dating. But something kept nagging at him. 2 weeks before the wedding, he quietly hired a private investigator based in Delhi to look into her background. The investigator confirmed Anika's address, but couldn't find any verifiable employment history, leading to more questions than answers. By the time Anika landed in Canada for the wedding, Vikram had become increasingly uneasy. She seemed distracted, spending long hours on her phone and making late-night calls in whispered tones. On the night of the wedding, once the celebrations were over and the guests had gone, he finally got access to her phone while she was in the shower. What he found shattered everything he believed about her. It wasn't just messages. There were videos, payment records, names, bookings, all pointing to a secret life he never saw coming. Once detectives secured the home and began piecing together the final hours of Anika Sharma's life, a clearer and far darker picture emerged. The newlyweds had returned to Vikram's house around midnight. Security footage from the front porch showed Anika walking in first, still in her bridal jewelry, looking tired but composed. Vikram followed behind her, holding her wedding dupatta, his expression unreadable. Inside the house, all seemed quiet. There was no immediate sign of tension. But investigators soon discovered that everything unraveled behind closed doors. Anika's phone, later recovered from the master bedroom, showed that she had received several notifications from encrypted apps while at the reception. Messages from unfamiliar names popped up late into the night. Vikram, who had already suspected something was wrong, took the opportunity to open her phone once she left it unattended. What he saw confirmed his worst fears. Recent messages arranging meetings with unknown men in Canada, money transfers, and archived media that left no room for doubt. This wasn't a one-time mistake, it was a pattern. Digital timestamps, combined with smart home motion sensors, placed Vikram pacing through the hallway between 1:45 and 2:15 a.m. He moved from the bedroom to the kitchen, back again, then stood still for nearly 10 minutes near the staircase. Around 2:20 a.m., neighbors in the adjoining unit reported hearing a loud bang, followed by muffled shouting. One neighbor would later describe the sounds as violent and abrupt, like furniture crashing. By 7:30 a.m., a call to 911 was placed from Vikram's phone. Responding officers found him sitting on the bedroom floor, motionless, staring blankly. Anika lay dead on the bed, still wearing part of her wedding dress. A heavy decorative trophy, gifted just hours earlier, was found nearby, dented, bloodied, and identified as the murder weapon. With the crime scene secured and both phones seized, forensic analysts and cybercrime investigators began the meticulous process of unraveling the truth behind Anika Sharma's double life. Her carefully curated social media persona had already come under scrutiny, but the contents of her encrypted messaging apps revealed just how deep her secret world ran. Conversations with multiple men across India, the Middle East, and Canada pointed to her involvement in a high-end escort network that operated under the guise of social influencing. She wasn't simply pretending to live a glamorous lifestyle. She was using it to advertise herself to elite clients willing to pay thousands for her time. Anika had used multiple digital identities, burner phones, and a network of online payment platforms to keep her activities hidden. She booked her travels through third-party agents, used fake names for hotel reservations, and rerouted earnings through untraceable digital wallets. Investigators uncovered records of clients in Toronto, Vancouver, Dubai, and Mumbai. Most of these engagements were brief, usually 1 to 2 nights, and almost always scheduled around public appearances she posted online. It was a carefully maintained illusion, with just enough distance between her public life and private dealings to avoid immediate detection. Shockingly, 3 of her clients had been contacted just days before her wedding. One lived only a few blocks away from Vikram's house. Chat logs showed she had agreed to meet him again after her honeymoon. Perhaps the most telling evidence came from a set of voice notes saved in a secure folder where Anika discussed how she planned to keep both lives separate after the marriage. She spoke casually about maintaining control over Vikram while continuing her private work in secret. It was a chilling glimpse into her mindset, one that made the tragedy of that night all the more unsettling. The trial of Vikram Malhotra began 6 months after Anika Sharma's death, drawing intense media coverage and public interest in both Canada and India. The prosecution charged him with second-degree murder, arguing that he had made a deliberate choice to kill his wife in a moment of rage. But Vikram's defense team told a different story, one of emotional collapse, betrayal, and psychological shock. They presented a narrative of a man who had built his future around a woman who turned out to be a stranger. The evidence was overwhelming, but so was the emotional weight behind it. In court, forensic analysts walked the jury through Anika's hidden digital life, showing encrypted messages, videos, and client logs. Her double life became the focus of the trial, not as a justification for her death, but as a lens through which Vikram's mental state was examined. Psychologists testified that he had likely experienced a dissociative break upon discovering the extent of her deception. He had not only been lied to, he had been manipulated into funding and supporting a version of her that never truly existed. After 3 weeks of emotional testimony and forensic evidence, Vikram was convicted of second-degree murder. He received a sentence of 15 years in prison with no chance of parole for 10. The courtroom was divided. Some saw him as a cold-blooded killer. Others viewed him as a broken man who snapped under unbearable betrayal. The case sparked widespread debate across social media and news channels. Some questioned how modern relationships, built online and filtered through curated images, can hide dangerous secrets. Anika was laid to rest in New Delhi, her family still refusing to believe the version of her revealed in court. But for Vikram, the sentence was only part of the punishment. The real prison was living with the truth.